One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
Welcome to a new era of baseball's great spectacle. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby, live on Netflix. The biggest sluggers in baseball put their talents to the test on All-Star Weekend. Raw power meets star power. Big swagger meets bigger slams. And you don't swing to make contact. You swing to make history. Watch the T-Mobile Home Run Derby live on Netflix, Monday, July 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. This is Another Side of Midnight. Our number is 800-848-9222. This is the day after July the 4th. I always got to get this straight. To me, I'm still in July 4th. And as I speak to you right away, all of our parts, we're reporting this from all over New York City, there are still fireworks, illegal fireworks going off in the city, in the streets, as we speak. Isn't that so delightful? Who cares about the law? I hope I'm able, and I'm going to really try to contain what I'm saying, to not be completely all over the place and desultory and elliptical and crazed and, because I have so much to say. July the 4th, yesterday, was the most infuriating conversation. And it occurred to me, and I was thinking about this when I was listening to these people I was talking to. We don't know anything. I mean, Americans, we are a cliche society that we say things that sound great. We say things, and more importantly, we don't ever, I don't want to say crack a book, but there's no reason why you cannot learn about anything new or to verify something or just say, you know what, I want to know, what's this about? You can just ask yourself. And when it comes to history, as Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. And the stories themselves are so interesting. But all you have to do is just look. And with all the talk that we mentioned about how terrible, and in fact, it's true, how predatory, many respects, the technological system is in big tech and different platforms, we're able to learn so much. Let me give you an example. With just the simplest of just pushing a button, when we talk about the age of our forebears, our founding fathers, do you know how old they were in 1776? Think about this. Now, we don't really think about what the age of is today. Remember something. At the beginning of the 20th century, the median age at that particular point of life expectancy of men was like 40-something years old. I mean, it was terrible. It was, the amount of death, premature death, was horrid. The very fact that we had a Ben Franklin who was in his 80s was just unheard of. Not only that, George Washington, by the way, there's a movie, I might see it today with my wife. I know it's going to stink, but, whatever it is. But at least we tend to care. He was enormous. But let me give you this perspective. The ages, how old were these revolutionaries? Let's just go down from the youngest to the oldest. James Monroe, okay? Think about this one. What is he, fourth, I guess? 18 years old. Aaron Burr, by the way, somebody whose real history you will never understand, 20. John Marshall, former Chief Justice, first Chief Justice, 20. Alexander Hamilton, 21. James Madison. I guess that's James Madison, I think, would have been 25. John Jay, 30. Now we're getting older. Thomas Jefferson, 33. Thomas Paine, New Rochelle's finest, 39. John Adams, 40. And the old man, George Washington, 44. And the popular image of the American founding is often that of elderly statesmen, powdered wigs, carefully celebrating in paneled rooms. And the reality was very, very different. The nation was built, think about this, it was defended and imagined by astonishingly young men at ages when I guess many of these folks today are still kind of finding their footing, but they were commanding troops, they were drafting constitutions, debating political philosophy, designing financial systems, negotiating these intricate alliances, risking their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor for an idea that had never before been attempted on such a scale. That's what this is about. Go to Philly. Look at the Constitutional Hall. Understand the windows were closed. They didn't want anybody to hear what was going on. In the summer, it was hot, sweltering. One of my favorites was, of course, Tench Coxe, C-O-X-E, who was if ever you want to read some great works about the Second Amendment and the militia, read old Tench. But at 21, Alexander Hamilton was already one of the most formidable political minds in the colonies. 21! And they were educated, but not formally per se. Many of them read Greek and Latin. It was a different world. At 25, James Madison was laying the intellectual foundation. Think about this. Of the constitutional government. Remember, we are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. A democracy is tyranny by the majority. It means that two wolves and a sheep debating what they're going to have for lunch. That's a democracy. That's not what we have. It's a republic, a constitutional republic with real rights, not parchment rights. Somebody suggested one time, I think it was Nino Scalia, that if you read or read Russia's constitution and others, they sound terrific. The rights, they have rights for everything, but they're not enforceable. Thomas Jefferson was only 33 when he drafted the Declaration of Independence. John Adams was 40. Washington, the elder statesman, 44. Think about this. And youth, which was great, was not seen as some kind of a disqualification. It was expected that ability and courage and intellectual prowess and character, all of that would determine responsibility rather than chronology alone. Can you imagine a 21-year-old today doing that? So this was the American experiment. And it was not created by men, waiting for permission or seniority. It was built by a generation of brilliant men, ambitious, extraordinary, remarkable, capable young men who believed that they could change, actually did. In fact, they really did change history. Ask yourself today, imagine trying to find that now. And they just understood. And then we will hear this. And I don't know why this drives me crazy. Maybe, I don't know. And it's not a very long ride, I admit. When I was in high school, we had a thing called Problems in American Democracy. It was civics. They called it PAD. And it was invariably always taught by the coach. The coach would sometimes teach world history for reasons I have no idea why. And there is a wonderful conversation that goes on And this is so interesting regarding Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York. And I just shake my head and I don't know what to do. I'm saying, I don't want him. I agree with you. I would have never wanted him. And instead of blaming the Republican Party of New York or New York City or blaming the ignorance or the fact that there was no turnout or whatever it is, oh, no. It's always this incursion of communism. My blood boils. It's like, did you not hear anything that happened regarding the years when we talked about communism? Were you not paying attention to any of this? Did you not learn? Maybe you didn't have that class that I did. And we use this term, and it's become a term which basically means totalitarian, and they'll make some reference to Stalin. And when you talk about communism and Marxism and socialism and totalitarianism and capitalism, and they have no idea. They have no idea how this thing works. And I'm not going to go through this, but what most people really want to talk about is the problem is there is a welfare government, a welfare state. That idea of giving people things, the government providing extensive social programs funded through taxation to protect citizens from, theoretically, from poverty and illness and unemployment and old age. That's kind of what we have. Retirement pensions, public education, unemployment benefits, disability assistance, government health care, health insurance, child benefits, maternity leave, housing assistance for low income. That's a welfare state. It's a welfare state. A welfare state doesn't mean socialism. It doesn't mean it. But this is a welfare state. That's what we live in. That's the name of this. This has nothing to do with Mamdani. Nothing. Sweden is a capitalist country with private-owned companies and stock markets and entrepreneurs, but extensive social programs. They're kind of quasi-socialist. The U.S., our country, is a capitalist country because we're talking about economic theories, not governance in terms of freedom. We're talking about an economic problem, planned economies. The U.S. is we are a proud capitalist country. We have a smaller welfare state relative to, many European countries, but through programs like Social Security Administration and Medicare, Medicaid, this is a welfare state. Absolutely, positively, 100%. And people would say, I would have it no other way. In fact, if you want to get yourself unelected, talk about getting rid of Social Security. So capitalism, socialism, Marxism, you never hear about that. That's a philosophy. Socialism, this is this is planned economy. Communism, this is a theoretical end state. Real socialists, real honest to God, legit, say it's theoretical. There is no government. Everything is so taken care of, and there's such utopian harmony. There is no government. It doesn't exist. Authoritarianism. This is what people worry about. What I worry about. This is a kind of a concentrated political power with limited political competition. Totalitarian refers to, and this is what people really want to talk about, is governments that seek control over political. They control everything. Now think about this. Throughout history, Nazi Germany, politically totalitarian, but private businesses existed. Volkswagen, Krupp, many privately owned businesses, though heavily directed to the state. Saudi Arabia, it's not socialist, it's not communist, and the economy contains substantial private ownership, but political power is concentrated by the monarchy. Fascist Italy maintained private ownership and private firms while exercising extensive political control. And when you talk about fascism, oh, forget it. You can forget about it. How about Spain? I remember Marcos, Spain. Authoritarian rather than fully totalitarian, but certainly not socialist, definitely not communist, no way. Chile, remember that one? So you go through this, and if you think about what's going on right now, we have groups of people, we have countries that are just North Korea, absolutely the clearest contemporary example of a totalitarian state. But it combines political control with state-directed socialism. Eritrea, Afghanistan. I'm not going to bore you. What I'm trying to tell you is simply this. For no other reason, you can do what you want. I can't make you do this, but you can learn anything you want. We'll talk about this and why we still live in a great, great country. I'll explain why and some other particular observations on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight. 800-848-9222. I love history. I love the truth, and I don't want people to tell me populist stuff. I don't want to hear mythology. I don't want to hear folklore. I want to hear what really happened. Warts and all, tell me exactly what is going on. And I'll never forget probably one of the greatest pieces of education, or a time of education I ever went through, was through this law school. Because I'm telling you, what is so interesting right now is take the birthright case. When I heard this, I asked people, I said, did you read the decision? What? Did you read the decision? Hell, Clarence Thomas, his dissent was like 90 pages, 91 pages. Do you know what the basis of that was? And they look at you and they say, well, I don't understand why people who are born here, just you become an American citizen. Well, that's the way it's been. You know, jus soli, the law of the soil. And they look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, a lot of people who are here, our grandparents, that's exactly what happened. Or we were quote, anchor babies. But the point I'm saying, I'm not here to argue that point. You may have a good point. But what I'm telling people is that you should have been in the Congress arguing this. This is the Supreme Court. And in the Barbara case, in the 5-4 decision, they looked at the available statutes, the provisions of constitutional coverage regarding birthright citizenship, and should they overrule it, should they repeal it, should they overturn it? And they said no. But if you don't read the decision, or maybe have somebody kind of run through it with you, you'll never understand it. But they'll say, that damn Roberts, that Amy Coney Barrett, that commie, she's a commie. And I hear this. I said, well, listen, Archie Bunker sound like John Kenneth Galbraith compared to this. Yeah, she's a commie. She's not a commie. These words mean something. What if you went to a doctor and every time something went wrong, the doctor said you had cancer? He goes, cancer, abscess, whatever. It's a big difference. We need to go back to our educational system. We need to go back. We really, seriously, I mean, we love to talk about it. We have this idea. It's kind of mythology. I remember being raised in the Catholic Church, which was a wonderful experience, parochial school. I'm so grateful I had that experience. I'm certainly not an expert in Catholicism. I know a lot about it. I'm kind of a retired Catholic because if you're not, and I tell people all the time, I say, being a Catholic doesn't mean you just think it, you have to practice it. And if you're not going to Mass and you don't observe holy days of obligation, you're not a Catholic. You're just some kind of you're as we say, a parchment Catholic. You were a cafeteria Catholic. You just, in your own mind, well, I kind of believe. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. But nobody wants to discuss that. But when I was growing up, I realized they had rules. And I hear people today tell me now regarding Catholicism or religion, and they just make it up. And I ask people, I said, do you even know what being a Catholic means? And they say, well, I went to Catholic school. That's not what I'm saying. What is a Catholic? What's the difference between a Catholic and a Protestant? What is it? They have no idea. And there isn't a day that goes by where I think to myself, my God, we are so saddled by, it's not because we're bad people, but we're just ignorant. Maybe it's the schools. Maybe it's the, now I remember during the Mamdani race, I kept saying, you better be careful. And this is a word to New York City Republican Party, the GOP or whoever runs it. You better start getting on and you better start re-educating because they like him. A lot of people like him, and young people, he's a commie. There we go with the word again. He's a commie. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then they say this, I can't believe a Muslim could be a president. Excuse me, a mayor. I'm president. And I thought, but there's no loyalty oath. There's no religious test. Do you understand what you just said? You know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean. Do you know what being an American means? You know what the Constitution must? You're saying a person's religious belief, or let's say he was an atheist. Many are just atheists. You're saying that should remove them their potential for running because they're a Muslim? Do you know what you're saying? I don't know. 9/11. I said, don't even get me started with that. This is not meant to point fingers, but if you want to know the truth, maybe another side of midnight or the news, the first thing we have to do is we have to start from the studs. We have to start all over again and send people back to school. We have the greatest lecture series. YouTube, name it. I'm not talking about somebody with a platform, Yale University or Hillsdale College or anything. Learn. Pay attention, watch documentaries, listen to what's going on. It's phenomenal. But people, and I don't understand, they think that maybe after they've graduated from school or college or high school, they don't know what it means to be an autodidact, to be self-taught. We don't go to libraries, we don't read. Ask most people what book they read. You don't have to read a book per se, even books on tape, I don't, or audiobooks, we have become, and I'm sorry to say this, an anti-intellectual, not grandiose smart, but thinking and evolving and exploring. We love to pat each other on the back and pound our chest and say, this is it, right? Yeah, we're a member of the club, right? Anybody who's not in our club, yeah, they're not Americans. Wait a minute, hold it. I heard one of the best, please go online and try to find this. Dave Chappelle, the comedian, gave one of the best answers for this is what I told you yesterday, what it is to be an American. And Andy Cohen and, Anderson Cooper were doing their usual thing. And he said, what does it mean to be an American? Why are you proud? And he says, I'm funny you asked that. He said, I understand being an American. And Americanism is when I speak to fellow Americans, if I'm in another country or foreign country, and I look and we recognize we have this kinship, this brotherhood, this understanding. This is. He spoke very beautifully about it. He really did. And we will say things all the time. We'll say that we died for the flag and we did for this. And I said the other day, let me explain something. This is something that bothers me the most. Why is it that everybody always they always put the idea of military hardware and planes and jets and bombers? Why is that a part of our country? And they looked at me like it was sacrilege. I said, we're a country of freedom and opportunity and prosperity and love and art and culture and funny and comedy and music and culture. That's what we are. Not bombs, not F-35s and Raptors. And that's not what that's a sad part of enforcing sometimes democracy. And we have been at war since we were hatched. Why is there this fetish about military? The military is great. We need them. I've got no beef with them. And already, and it's one of these things where we do this. And the thing is that nobody does it out of ill will. Nobody means any harm by this. But it's time to really stop and say, wait a minute. What are we really doing here? What are we really about? How does this thing work? I'm going to talk about something called the American system. This is the Henry Clay. This is a series. This is the various philosophies of government within our country. And you never hear about this. In fact, President Trump has initiated much of this. It is so interesting how he has actually embraced much of this. But in any event, as we celebrate, and let me say one thing. I promise you, I will put my patriotism up against anyone. And one of the reasons, very simply this, I love this country so much. I'm always reading and investigating. I'm not done with school. I mentioned you before, when I went to law school, I was reading cases for the first time. I say, that's not what they said. And I guarantee you, all of the people who are going crazy about the birthright case, the real answer is the Supreme Court doesn't legislate, it interprets. If you want to change the law, go to Congress. You can fix anything you want, so long as it doesn't conflict with the Constitution. That's the beauty of this. Let's go to the phones at 800-848-9222. Martin in upstate New York. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel.
Have a nice day, my friend. Martin's changing his name. Don't ever change, my friend. Give me a call some other time. With all due respect, I swear to God, he called our prior call before. I'm sure he's a nice man, and I know he means well. But I swear to God, it's like setting off a stink bomb in the middle of a wedding. It just derails. It was great to hear. Even Dr. Sky was saying, well, this is a different take. Sorry, that's okay. Listen to the ears. Remember, great screening is to recognize the problems. Will in the Bronx. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, how you doing, Lionel? You are so right about the educational system under educating people. And you know,
yes,
Trump, he's right when he say people are low IQ. Go on YouTube, because you like to look stuff up. Go on YouTube, and there's a Comedy Central clip of them asking Trump about what's the meaning of the Declaration of Independence, and he doesn't know. It's crazy. Go on there and check it out. It'll blow your mind.
Well, I'm here as well. But you know, a lot of people, frankly, don't understand.
Check it out.
How many? No. I heard you the first time. How many people think that the Declaration of Independence is the same as the Constitution?
He's way out there. Check it out. You're laughing.
Okay, you check it out. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think he said check it out about 3 times, and I can only check it out so much. By the way, that's a great John Cougar Mellencamp. You know, Donald Trump, let me explain something about him. You can say whatever you want. You're going to miss him. Oh, my God. Are you going to miss him? You don't... You are not. I know people are going to say, what are you crazy? I said, trust me. He is something. He is the most transformational president in our history. And I know this drives people absolutely nuts. And that doesn't mean you like him. Because remember, be a realist. Realism. You know, sometimes we mention the names like people like Mearsheimer and others. Realism, as in realpolitik, is to explain the way things are, not necessarily the way you want them to be, but the way things are, the way things truly are, not the way you think they should be. 800-848-9222. Paul in Connecticut, I think. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, sir. Hi, Lionel. I
calling you for a while.
Why did you miss calling? Why did you not call for a while?
Because you came off the air during the week, and then I have to listen to Mr.
Okay,
Sterling,
let's talk about this. How are you today, sir?
Exorcist, and having these MRIs and
Paul, what would you like to talk about today, sir?
Well,
Paul,
can I give you a topic that maybe will float your boat a little?
You want to give me a topic? Sure,
yes,
whatever. If
I
that
can.
makes you happy,
Unless you
give
want
me
to
a
come
topic.
Up with one, I can. Well,
Paul, do you know how this?
was-
Hang on one second, Paul. Do you know how this thing works? I mean, when you call up, you don't give me a topic, or you don't. Let me try this a different way. What's on your mind? That might be a better way of doing it. What's on your mind?
Well, I was thinking about these people that are identifying as pronouns and the correlation between Satan.
Now, stop right there for just 1 second. People who are identifying as pronouns.
Yes.
You know, this has been a while. This has been around, and I think it's a little bit on the decline. I'm not seeing it as much like when emails, my pronouns are. But what is your take on that, sir?
I think that they should, maybe they should go to the Satanic Temple and pray.
Now,
a
stop for a
little
second.
bit.
Let me stop for a second. I know you're a good man, and what do using pronouns, have to do with Satanism?
I think that there could be a correlation here, and they should.
How is that? Why is that?
What was the guy? Timothy. I'm trying to remember the name of the person.
Let me work with you on this one. What is Satanism, and how is the use of preferred pronouns? How are they at all connected?
Well, if there was Jimmy Page had the house, the Berkhamsted house or something, and
okay, let me try this again, because I think you're a challenge, and I love a challenge. What does Satanism have to do with pronouns?
It could, is it better to advertise as a pronoun than an adjective?
Now, let me ask you something. Have you given this any thought? What is Satanism?
There was
Define
a place
that.
out by Loch Ness where they had the house out there.
Okay,
My friend-
forget that. Let's work on this one. I think we're making some headway here. Define, first of all, Satanism. What is Satan? What is a Satanist? What do they do? What does that employ or entail, I should say?
Well, when I was in boot camp, we'd have to put on the gas mask.
Okay.
Yeah, we could breathe in toxic gas.
Now, what does this have to do with Satanism? I'm going to try this again because you know why? Because I'm an idiot. And I love challenges. And I love hitting my head against the wall because I just do it. Define Satanism. Following Satan. What is that about?
Well, it could be the evil. We need the evil to go after, like the jihadists and people.
Hang on a
this.
second. Let me try this again. You know what? And I'm going to keep doing this because I like you, and I like a nice challenge. Let me try it this way: who is Satan? That's pretty straightforward. Forget the military and gas mask and Jimmy Page. Who is Satan?
Well, he's I guess the fallen angel that
there we go.
Communicates with people. He was a fallen angel. He could have been a saint. Is
Satan good or bad? I'll make it real easy for you. Good or bad, Satan?
Well, if people want to sell their soul to be rich and famous, that was something I used to hear.
This is very Kafka-esque. This sounds like Robert Johnson. What I'm saying is, let me try this again. You know why? Because I'm wacky. I'm crazy. Is Satan good or bad? You got to tell me. Answer is either good or bad. Satan, good or bad?
Good, but he wants to be a trickster.
No, hang on. That's the Antichrist, which is a little different, but that's okay. Now, I think make the connection now. This is important between Satanism and somebody wanting to use particular pronouns. What does Satan have to do with grammar or pronouns? Make the case.
Well, the pronouns I could use, I know they are somewhat gay people that want to try to
Somewhat gay people.
express themselves. They are trying to express themselves sexually that, I don't feel.
Paul, I wish you the best, my friend. You have a great and a glorious 4th of July weekend. Please call me again. And we have learned so much. Paul's a good man. But let me tell you something. Paul probably, I think, exemplifies what more people truly feel, though he says it a little bit in more of a raw sense. He kind of knows, it's grasping. It's almost like you're trying to catch smoke with your hands. You're seeing Satanism and evil and pronouns, and does that bother you? Well, if somebody wants to call themselves her, they, you know what? I believe, me personally, of course, that set gay rights, even though because that's more of a trans thing, because gay people are of the gender they are. There's gay men and gay women. This is trans. This is gender versus sexuality. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? And I love this call. And by the way, I appreciate people who are brave enough to call up. And I'm not going to browbeat anybody, but he did speak to kind of this confusion that people have. They don't know what it is. But I want to tell you something. Have you ever heard about something called the American system? Now, I'm going to say this, and I know at least 3 of you will do this, but you can go online, you can look up the American system. What was it? It was a name. It's not just a generic term. This is the economic program or theory associated with Henry Clay during the early 19th century. Henry Clay, one of the most prolific Americans that he never gets his due. Henry Clay, this was American statesman. He represented Kentucky in the House and the Senate. He was the 7th Speaker as well as the 9th Secretary of State. He ran unsuccessfully for president. But Henry Clay, this is so interesting. He had this wonderful idea. And see how many of these attributes apply to current systems. 1, protective tariffs. I remember this is before income tax. Income tax was unheard of before 1913 and then later on with central banks and unheard of. Protective tariffs on imported goods to encourage Americans to buy products made in the United States and to protect young American industries from foreign competition, particularly from Britain. Sound familiar? That one as one aspect. Plus a national bank. Oh my God. Go up to a Krugman, go up to some Keynesian Federal Reserve person and talk about the belief in a national bank providing stable currency. He wanted to ease and to facilitate commerce and support business investment and credit throughout the country. This was embodied in the Second Bank of the United States. Unheard of. Then federal funding, listen to this, federal funding for internal improvements. We call them infrastructure, or as most people say, infra. Roads, canals, later railroads, to connect farmers and manufacturers and consumers across the nation. The way we connect, we don't really have that now. We have no rail system really to speak of. This is projects such as the Erie Canal reflected this. And Henry Clay viewed these policies as mutually critical. Tariff to protect factories. Factories would buy agricultural products from farmers. Roads and canals would connect. It was fascinating. It was economic nationalism or developmental capitalism. And you can debate about this. But I just happened upon Henry Clay and the various philosophies within the United States. And here's the best part. I love playing this game of asking questions. What would happen if? What do you think was the most, well, let me rephrase this. If I could bring back, somehow exhume and revivify any of our forebears, any of our constitutional forefathers, what do you think would absolutely freak them out the most of what we do? What do you think it would be? Would it be me going to Madison and saying, hey, guess what? We have metal detectors. Metal detectors? What? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. We arrest all the time without warrants, we arrest people. You what? Oh, yeah. You're kidding me. Oh, no. It'd be a hard time explaining surveillance. But the thing that would probably drive them the most crazy is the central bank system, Federal Reserve, or the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, the central bank of central banks. The Federal Reserve they would say, you're high, you're drunk. No way. Oh, yeah, no. A privately owned central bank? What? No, stop it. No. Ask yourself this question. If you ever meet President Trump, ask him, Mr. President, can you fire the chairman of the Fed? Nope. Think about that one. Do you have friends of yours they think they know everything? Oh, I got a bunch of them. And whenever you're out, if you're having dinner or something, this is cruel, but say, Dave, provided his name is Dave. Dave, you're a pretty sharp guy. I know you're a news junkie. I know if anybody would know this, you would, because I know you know, and you're smart, and you build them up, and you go, well, and you can see them. Well, I do like to keep abreast of the news. I know you do. Here's a question. If anybody would know, you would. And you set them up like this. And then you ask very simply, what is the Federal Reserve? And just stop. Don't say anything more. And watch his expression. And they'll talk about, well, they set the interest rate. What is the basis? Is that constitutional? Is it? And they have no idea. Absolutely no earthly idea. I think it was Dennis Kucinich, may have said, the Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express. What is federalism? My wife, Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors, always talks about this notion of they're trying to fight preemption in the Congress regarding the ability for the states' rights to control what particular big tech items they have that affect them. And preemption basically destroys states' rights and makes it a singular federal system. Is that federalism? Is that bad? They have no idea. The birthright case, the Barbara case, did anybody read it? No. Well, I'm here to help you. Oh, we've got more stuff coming up, my friends. You're going to get an education tonight. I'm going to give you more things to think about because this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. 800-848-9222. The great John Cougar Mellencamp, or John Mellencamp, I should say. I mentioned Henry Clay before. Henry Clay, just spend a little time. The great compromiser. They had the great triumvirate. Think about this. It was John C. Calhoun, Henry Clay, Daniel Webster. And Clay dominated the Senate during the antebellum days. He also founded the Whig Party to oppose Andrew Jackson's expanse. It's incredible. These are the most fascinating stories. The great compromiser. Speaker of the House. He served 6 non-consecutive terms as Speaker. Nobody, it's funny. We wait until somebody comes along and has, some story about Washington. I'm going to enjoy, I think we're going to be checking out the Washington movie, just for the heck of it. But you can ask people in this country, what was slavery about? How does slavery work into this? What was the Civil War about? What was World War I about? That's the greatest. Go figure that one out. And don't forget, as I said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. It is the greatest story, bar none. Let's go to Jack in Pennsylvania. Jack, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, you are a genius. I'm even scared to call you.
Why is that, Jack?
Because you are a genius.
Well, thank you, sir.
And
What's on your mind, Jack? What's on your mind, sir?
Okay, what's on my mind?
Yes, sir.
You are a genius.
Okay, we've made that clear. I appreciate that.
Night.
Thank you, sir.
What?
But aside from that, and that encomium and that panegyric, and I appreciate that, what's on your mind other than that, sir? Well, you have a nice day. Let me tell you something. Don't let anybody kid you. One of the greatest things right now is you got to ask yourself, and I say this with all due respect, who the hell is up at 3 a.m. wanting to call a radio show? Let's face it, degenerates. I'm kidding, of course. I kid. But it's like, it's the best part of it. I love it. They always make overnights to be this. They never tell you what overnight radio is really about. The best part about it are the people. It's not the subject matter. The subject matter it's so ridiculous. The subject matter, which is the most important, which is oftentimes played late at night, but the people themselves, that's another story. Oh my God, they were incredible. Brian in Florida. Brian, what's on your mind, my friend?
Lionel, it's Florida. It's not Florida. Florida.
Okay. What's on your mind, sir? Quickly, go ahead, sir.
So it's funny.
Yes, sir.
You said what type of people. I've been listening to you. I've called him before. We've talked.
Yes, sir.
Go back to the morning
Yes,
days
sir.
and So yeah. I actually just got back from a little 250th July 4th celebration here on the Panhandle.
How was it? How was it, sir? How was it, sir?
It was fantastic. Fantastic. Drone shows, fireworks. This is I went from 10 years of living in San Francisco in the most liberal congressional district in the country to the most conservative. We're in Matt Gaetz country here, Lionel.
You're in what country, sir?
We're in Matt Gaetz country.
Yeah. Well, that's another. Yeah. I've got my doubts about Matt Gaetz, but aside from that, it's very interesting. I saw some of the most incredible tonight and around the tip of Manhattan, right between Manhattan and Brooklyn. It was just incredible. I was thinking that and by the way, thank you for your call. I thought I was watching AI because the level of, I saw fireworks and pyrotechnics I've not really seen before, but it was terrific and people were laughing and singing and it was wonderful. And they played actually American songs, American in nature, dare I say, patriotic. Granted, they might have been like covers, but still, it's still out there. Don't let anybody fool you. I know people, especially in New York, they got this mom, and Mom Donnie's wife went to, who cares? What are you worried about? The essence, the soul, the backbone of this country still loves America. May not like the government, as I got my problems with, but we love America. Hour number 2 coming up on another side of midnight with Lionel.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All righty, Lionel with you. Hour number 2 of this thing of ours, also called Another Side of Midnight. Our number is 800-848-9222. My friends, as you know, I always believe that there should be a certain degree of, I like to call it critical thinking. And that's comes across sometimes as rather highfalutin, critical thinking. What do you mean critical thinking? By whose standards? Well, by my standards, of course. I determine what the standards are. But when people are presented with something, sometimes they will let their wishes and their hopes and their, I don't want to say superstitions, but let me give you an example. Have you ever wondered how you would explain the near-death experiences? I would suggest it's actual death, but they call it near death. It's like a near miss. It's actually a near hit, as George Carlin said. But the near-death experiences, and it argues that the brain might be under a particular type of stress that maybe the light that we see, the tunnel, the warmth, the familiarity, all of these things, many people would say, well, when they hear it or hear of it, it may not have happened to them, which is good because you're not in a good place if it does happen to you, but you say, it's very comforting. There is a God. There is a wonderful welcoming passage to the next state of consciousness or existence, whatever you want to call it. And it's a sense of, okay, yeah, right. This is good. This is good. It is good. It is good. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And people think it's comforting, but a lot of people are saying, no, that might not be. You might be romanticizing about it. Maybe it can be explained physiologically, organically. Excuse me. And there's a new theory that attempts to explain the near-death experience. And it argues that the brain, under extreme stress and oxygen deprivation, may produce remarkably similar perceptions and sensations, including tunnels and bright lights and feelings of peace and encounters with deceased relatives or beings. And the theory suggests that these experiences may in fact all come from and arise from common, I guess, neurological mechanisms that all humans share as the brain transitions towards death. Now, some people respond that some reports contain details and perceptions that remain difficult to explain through neurobiology alone, and the debate ultimately centers on one of humanity's, I guess, oldest questions: is consciousness entirely a product of the brain, or does it survive bodily death? Now, I am of the opinion that I can't answer that question. I need to hear more theories behind it, more hypotheses, because I don't want to be in the position, this as far as I'm concerned, where I fill in the blanks and I make things seem happy, and I kind of create, for lack of a better word, I create images of things that I want to be. So anyway, there's a brand new article, a theory, that discusses a new neurobiological model named, this acronym, Neptune. It stands for Neurophysiological Evolution of the Understanding of Near-Death Experiences, Neptune. And what it does is it attempts to explain why people from different cultures often report remarkably, sometimes exactly the same experiences during close brushes with death, or some would argue death, that people have been declared dead. Not for, a year, but maybe long enough. And the model suggests that as the brain undergoes, again, oxygen deprivation, there are surges of neurotransmitters and changes in carbon dioxide levels and activity in regions such as the parietal junction. That is my favorite, the parietal lobe, consciousness, placement, positioning. And it may produce common experiences, including moving through a tunnel toward a bright light, feeling profound peace or euphoria, experiencing an out-of-body perspective, where they rise above the body, above the hospital bed. They sometimes can even describe details. Sometimes their eyes are covered, and there's no way they could have known the particular type of suturing implement that was there. They can count the people in the room. They will have heard things. They will have been given the opportunity to continue on with their path into the next realm, the next position. They relive significant moments from their life. It's just fascinating. And they feel sometimes this reluctant return to the body. So the theory argues, this is interesting, that these experiences may result from universal features of the human brain structure rather than evidence of an afterlife. So critics, people who may disagree with this, particularly researchers at the University of Virginia, counter that some reports involve detailed perceptions and verifiable observations during unconsciousness and sensory experiences that current neuroscience just can't explain. So the debate continues. So the question I have for you, and this is interesting, is I will ask the question, do you think there is a life after death? Do you think that we make this transition? Is this religion-based? Is this something that you were told? Does it provide for you a feeling, kind of a warm consolation? Do you find yourself in the position of saying, yeah, I like this. I feel good about this. I like this. Yeah. I like this. I like this feeling. I like this idea. Or do you say, it doesn't matter what I like? Science doesn't provide for this. This is superstition, right? Well, what if I told you that there are other people who believe that there is a life after death, and they have nothing to do with anywhere even remotely connected to religion? The connection between life after death and microtubules, listen to this, and Max Planck, or Max Planck to be correct and cool. This has a theory, this is an attempt by physicists and consciousness researchers to assume, to answer rather, a fundamental question: is consciousness produced by the brain, or does the brain merely receive or organize consciousness? Let me say this again. Does the brain produce consciousness, or does it merely receive it? So Planck said, quote, this was his quote, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." So he wasn't arguing for an afterlife per se, but he rejected the strictly materialistic view that consciousness is merely a byproduct of matter. So now, separately from this, Roger Penrose, as you know, the great physicist, and Stuart Hameroff proposed their controversial, listen to this one, orchestrated objective reduction theory, or OR. This theory argues, dig this, that consciousness, and I don't want you to play this, Bill, but imagine this sitar music playing in the background, kind of a Ravi Shankar, Timothy Leary, amen. Anyway, they argue that consciousness may arise from quantum processes or processes that occur inside microscopic structures within neurons called microtubules rather than solely from ordinary neural firing. So they believe, again, these microscopic structures inside neurons called microtubules. So Hameroff has speculated that when a person dies, now I love this, the quantum mechanics, the quantum information associated and connected with consciousness inside these little microtubules may not be destroyed, but, I love this, but they could dissipate, be released into space-time itself, and potentially persist in some form. The idea is sometimes cited in discussions of near-death experiences. So what they're saying is, this remains highly controversial. Most neuroscientists continue to hold that consciousness emerges from brain activity. But these extremely fascinating people, who are not known to be overly religious, if religious at all, believe differently. There's the materialistic view that consciousness is generated by the brain and it ends at death. That's it. Once you die, you're an onion ring, and it doesn't matter. There's the quantum consciousness view, which is this Max Planck theory, where consciousness arises from these quantum little configurations and may not be entirely confined to the brain and may be released into the ether, into some other realm. It's really kind of spooky. Then there's the philosophical or the spiritual view that says consciousness exists independently of the brain and it survives bodily health. I am telling you, and this is important to understand, that the definition of consciousness remains the number one most debated philosophical and medical and neurological construct there is. And you might think to yourself, what are they debating? Who's debating it? Trust me when I tell you this. So let me ask you this question. Now, this is really heavy. And by the way, judging by the realm of some of our callers, this is going to be real good. How do you define being conscious? Let me ask you these questions. And don't tell me, by the way, let me say this politely. Don't tell me, well, the Bible says this, the Quran says this, the Talmud says this, or this, somebody said this. No. Tell me what you feel, what you think. I mean, you can say to an extent, but tell me what you intuitively feel. I'm of the kind of instinctual belief that death pretty much ends a lot of stuff that we know. However, I cannot tell you what happens afterwards. I cannot tell you. There are things that just don't make any sense. People have talked about near death, after death. People who've seen folks who predeceased them will talk about this. And here's my question. If you're brave enough, define consciousness. Think about that. This is Lionel with you, and this is Another Side of Midnight.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. This is Another Side of Midnight. 800-848-9222. My friends, I love the subject of everything we've talked about heretofore, but this newer addition to our discourse, and that is, what is consciousness and what happens afterwards? And do you believe that these stories of light in the tunnel and this warmth are in fact evidence of God? As my great friend Jim Lloyd, the late great Father Jim Lloyd, 103 years old. God. Or is this just some neurological breakdown of gray matter and the like? 800-848-9222. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. Let's go to a man named Bobby in Queens. Bobby, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel. Bobby?
Hello?
Yes,
Joe,
Bobby, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do I fear you?
Yeah, I hear you.
I hear
hear
you,
me?
Bobby. Bobby, I hear you.
Listen,
I hear you.
The Civil War was over, not slavery, it was over water rights. It started in early 1859, 1860. They started fighting. Whoever controlled the rivers that met the ocean and controlled both sides of the land on those rivers controlled the taxes and the commerce. That's what that war was started over. Lincoln in 63.
Why have we not heard this?
Because nobody wants to tell you the truth. Listen, my family came to this country in the 1600s on my father's side. I know everything about this country. My father's family fought for everything in this country. Everything. And let me tell you, that war was not over slavery. It was over water rights and money. Whoever controlled both sides of the river where it met the ocean, whether it been a mountain,
let me ask you something. Fort Sumter.
The taxes and the commerce.
Hang on a second. Slow down. Fort Sumter. The CSA, Jefferson Davis, the Emancipation Proclamation, none of that had any. It was about water.
Water rights at home.
No.
Wherever they.
You are saying, wait. Stop for a second. You're just repeating yourself. Give me the best example of the most famous or a battle that was around water rights. Give me an example of it.
I couldn't do that because I'm the kid that didn't go to school and got a 98 in a biology regents. And
wait. Stop for a second. You can learn now. Why don't you learn now? Why don't you investigate this now? I mean this. Why? Why do you think?
Well, I always knew it wasn't about slavery. That war wasn't about.
No, stop for a second. Now you're repeating yourself. What I'm saying is, I've never heard that. Never heard that. Everybody is saying one. Let me try this again. You're just, and I appreciate your call. You're just saying it. Here's what you're saying. It's kind of a circular thing. My parents told me this, or my family told me this, and it's true because you'll never hear it. And if somebody says, well, that's new to me, that's because you've never heard it before. It's like a circular thing. Well, give me an example. I don't know anything. I just heard water rights. Well, give me an example. I don't know anything about this. I would venture to say, and I appreciate you very much, and I appreciate your call, but trust me when I tell you this, it was a little bit more complicated than just about water rights. And I thank you, and I want you to call me again, sir. Have a great day. Water rights, we'll talk about one time, hydro-imperialism, hydrology are going to be the bases for major wars. Major. This is something that is so incredibly, I can't explain it to you. But we can get off of the gold standard, but we cannot get off the water standard. People never want to discuss the fact that one of the issues that we had with Gaddafi was the fact that that Libya sits atop the Nubian sandstone aquifer. And it is the biggest, perhaps, freshwater aquifer on the planet. And he was going to make Libya arable. And remember that particular part of the world where the Tigris and the Euphrates come together, the whole notion of Iraq. This is the Garden of Eden. This is the Fertile Crescent. We'll talk about that one day, but it's water. Never discuss who owns the water. But with all due respect to our great caller, I think you'd be hard pressed to say that the Civil War was fought based on water rights. It's just, that's a new one. Novel and most incorrect. Dave in New Jersey. Dave, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good evening, Lionel.
Good evening, Dave.
This whole thing is a war for the souls of men.
What
Every
thing?
church has their salvation program. They'll say, give us tithes.
What thing?
Follow our doctrine.
Stop for a second. You said this whole thing. Before we go on, What do you mean this thing? What thing?
This thing called life in our souls. Our souls are what they're after. You have
Who are they?
Pure Luciferianism is now of the essence. It's happening in the world.
Why not
is the
Satanism?
angel of light. Jesus replaced Lucifer at the right hand of God because Lucifer
Do you know
took
why
all the worshiping angels with him, and we were put on this earth fearfully and wonderfully made to replace those angels. That's why we were made. So this is a war for the souls of men.
Where do you learn that, sir?
I read the Bible. I can decipher parabolic language.
What if you do not read the Bible? What if you do not believe
Well, then
in
you're not going to have an idea on how we were all, why this earth was made, and why God was going to save who He was going to save from before the foundation of the world. If you want to understand God, you got to understand that He is first.
What would you say? What would you say to somebody from another faith?
I would say that there are many doctrines out there, and they're false doctrines. The King James Version Bible was sanctioned by God to be printed by King James.
How do you know
that? Bona fide Word of God. All the other Bibles
How do you know
broken down syllabically at their stanza. All of that is wrong. It's just
Let me ask you a
way
question.
to teach modern man.
Let me ask you.
Parabolic
Let me ask you.
language
Maybe
is.
you can't hear me. Maybe it's our phone systems, which I think sometimes are the problem. How do you know this?
Right now, I know this because I fall into the spirit and I see things that.
What does that mean?
The whole
What do you
earth
see?
is surrounded by fallen angels, and Gabriel's angels come to us to minister us, and they have to fight their way through that circle of angels that surround this earth. All those
Give me an
fallen
example.
angels are there fighting Gabriel's angels to come to us.
Okay, let me ask
to
you a
minister
question.
us.
Stop for a second. Stop for 1 second. I appreciate this. Slow down for 1 second. Talk to me like I'm 8 years old. I don't understand this. There are
When I tell my
angels
grandsons,
surrounding the earth.
millions
Just
of
explain
fallen
to me.
angels that went with Lucifer.
Okay, let me try this again. Let me try this again. If I said to you that Jebediah was the illiterate son of Jehoshaphat, who was married to Bathsheba, seventh queen of the sun god Ra. Now, if I just said that to you, and you would say, what? And I said, no, that's it. And you ask me, well, how do you know this? Because I've read it in the book of Quanta. And Josephus said it. Now, you would say, this doesn't mean anything to me. I know this. I read this. One of the things that is important to proselytize, to spread the word, which is I think most people want to do, is to be able to tell people, well, here's the theory behind it. Not just merely to give us a recitation of what you believe in. If I brought in a Muslim, he would say, no, that's not what happened. It's this. And then the Jew would say, no, it's this. So aside from that, independent of this, give me an example, some kind of, not proof, but something that you've seen which bears or follows through with your pronouncement. Give me an example of Luciferian evil.
I'll give you an example of the Jewish religion. Jesus was with Peter and he was walking down the road. They looked at the fig
Stop for a
tree.
second. Stop for a second. You're talking about history. Remember, let's assume I don't know the history. Give me something now. Tell me something around me that I can see. Something that would make sense. Or I say, oh, I understand it. I don't want to hear about Peter or whoever. I'm not saying it didn't happen. But put it into the context of now. Where do you see this now? Give me an example.
What do I see as now, as far as what, the netherworld?
Yeah.
It's in us. It's in us. He is in us. This is the eternal world we don't see. We're in the temporal world.
Let me try this again, and I appreciate this. If I told you something like what you said, it would mean nothing to you. It would sound, and I'm not suggesting this, but it would sound like gibberish to somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about. Tell me something I can learn practically, or I can go out. We'll go out in the street. During the day, I'm saying, you know what? That's exactly what he said. Where do I see Lucifer during the day or in life. And don't refer to a book. Tell me where I can see it. And how do I know it's Lucifer and not Satanism or just some other evil?
Angry people. Fierce countenance.
Why can't angry people just be angry? Not because of Lucifer.
An angry person is an evil person. Lucifer is the father of evil.
What if he's angry for a reason? What if somebody's angry because he doesn't like what's going on? He's angry because of the sin and the crime and the inhumanity, and it angers him. That's evil? To recognize
That's
evil?
why. See, we're here at this time right now where all creation is groaning.
Now, and I thank you for your call. Please call me again. How do I say this? This is circular. Please call me again. Thank you. This is circular. This is just circular. This is somebody just saying something. Why? Because it is. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm always thinking, let me try to proselytize. Let me see if I can bring something to your attention. Let me give you an example of something. Let me show you of why something is, why it occurs, why it's real. Not just to sit there and just read things or cite. Again, I'm not saying it's not true, but very frankly, it doesn't. It doesn't resonate with a lot of people. Let's go to Mabel in New York City. Mabel, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. I would like to answer your question about what I think consciousness is. And there is a theoretical physicist who actually addresses your question. His name is Dr. Amit Goswami. And he basically says in one of his major books that consciousness creates the material world. And I think he defines consciousness as awareness.
What do you think?
I believe in what Dr. Amit Goswami
what do you think?
has postulated.
Then I see. You can just give me a book and I can read the book. Tell me what you think.
I believe consciousness is awareness, and you have to be always, from the beginning of time to the end of time, you have to be aware in order for there to be a material world. So you can never die. Therefore, I believe consciousness.
Let me ask you something. Is a shrimp conscious?
No.
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait, stop. Wait a minute. He's aware. Shrimp is most aware. If you go up to a shrimp, he'll move away. Shrimp eats. His shrimp knows what to do.
Shrimp. Yes, a shrimp, yes.
So a shrimp is conscious.
Question again, I misunderstood it. Yes.
Is a shrimp conscious?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me something that's not conscious.
A brick.
Okay.
A fork.
What about a plant?
A book.
A plant.
I do believe a plant may have consciousness, but Dr. Goswami, well, all right, I believe what he said, but consciousness is made up of what's called tachyons. Let me spell that for you so that it's Tachyons. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I believe when you die, your consciousness is becomes free of your physical body. And the tachyons, which is your consciousness, tunnels faster than light through wormholes to parallel universes, and you're born again. I believe in reincarnation. I think you are your soul. Your soul is your consciousness.
By the way, a tachyon, Tachyon, are hypothetical. Okay, they are hypothetical particles that, if they exist, would always travel faster than the speed of light, which, of course, some would say that's might be impossible. Anyway, and the name comes from the Greek tachys, meaning swift, like tachometer. So the idea emerged in theoretical physics during the 60s as scientists explored what the equations of special relativity would permit mathematically. And surprisingly, the equations do not specifically forbid particles that are always faster than light. So it's a very interesting concept. So it's a part of string theory. It's not just consciousness. It's actually used in string theories. By the way, there's no experimental evidence for tachyons, but it's a very interesting idea. Now, aside from that, tell me what you feel intuitively. Why do you believe in reincarnation?
Well, first of all, why do I believe? I remember some of my past lives. So
how do you know they're past lives? How do you know you're remembering them?
I don't know. I can't prove it with any...
Tell me one of your past lives.
I'm not comfortable doing that, Lionel. I really don't want to do that because they weren't very pleasant, and I just don't want to go. They were not pleasant.
By the way, stop right there. Congratulations. Because whenever somebody talks to me about it, they said, I was a 4th century princess named, and it's like, wait a minute, as opposed to I was this syphilitic leper in the gutters of, it's always something high and mighty and flowery.
No, I will tell you what I believe. I believe in karma, and I believe if you are not a good person in this life, I have proof of it within my own memories. If you're not a good person in your present life, you come back, karma is real, into a very unpleasant existence. So,
can you ever undo karma?
By being a good person, I think in your present life, try to be a good person, and you'll get a nice life maybe the next time around. Because your consciousness has, I know this is a hard concept to understand, but consciousness
I don't think it's hard
always existed. There's no beginning or end to it. It's just sort of, time is a drop. It's not linear. So there's no beginning or end. It just all dropped. So basically, I also believe you can be reincarnated into the past. If you study what
that?
Dr. Well, because time is just a concept, so that everything doesn't happen all at once.
You can go back? Wait a minute, you're saying that you can go backwards?
Yes, you can go backwards in time, so that's right.
Wait a minute.
I believe that. I can't prove it. That's what I believe.
Well, you wish it were true, or you hope it, because you can only believe something you have proof of. But it doesn't really matter. So what you're saying is, if you do something now, let's say you do something which is wrong, it would seem to be almost like a punishment. You could go back. You can go back
in time. You can go back and see the pyramids being built. That is correct. You can participate in that.
Would you?
I believe that.
Sprout up. Okay. Would you sprout up as a corporeal, actual human, born to an Egyptian, let's say, slave family, or something during that time? We're not talking about spirit, but the physical, corporeal body of an infant going back in time, doing this again. Is that right? Now, if you went back in time, and killed your parents, how could that be?
No, because you're not understanding. You're not going to come back to this life, this planet, and go back in time and kill your parents. You're going to tunnel faster than light through a wormhole, through a black hole, to another planet where which has it's different there. You can't have
a planet.
Call it. Yeah, another planet. Yeah, another planet.
Now, are there people walking around today who enjoy a reverse process, who are themselves from another planet, who reversed, I guess, retro-engineered and came to our planet now from either the past or the future,
because
from another dimension?
No, because you don't come back to this planet when you when you time travel. You don't come back to this planet. You go to a parallel.
You don't understand. No, not me. Could I be something from another planet that I came here? I reversed the process you're describing.
Wait, I don't understand. You came here from where? You were born here.
Place?
Well, you were born here. So there you go. You were born here.
No, wait a minute. You said that we can go back through a wormhole,
That's right.
through tachyons, to some other dimension, some other planet, some other place, where we will be born there or start again or
That's
whatever.
right,
it is.
because
Now,
they're in a different time. All right.
Let me ask you. Wait. I got to answer this question. Is that possible in reverse? Could somebody from that planet be then transported to us now?
No, they go to another planet because there are an infinite number of planets. They don't come here.
Wait a minute. If you can go there, why can't they come here?
Because I'm going there in a different time zone.
But can somebody else do this? Not you. But
yes, everybody does it. I believe everybody does it. Everybody is reincarnated. Yes, they go.
What I'm asking you. Wait a minute. You're missing the point. Could the person that you're talking to now be a reincarnated person from another planet through that wormhole who did this process you described, but in reverse? Instead of us going there, they came
I see what
here.
You're saying. Could you come to this planet?
Yes.
I guess so. I don't have the answer to that, but I guess so. If your consciousness has never been on this planet before in any form, then I would say yes. You can't go to a planet where your consciousness has existed before.
Now, how do you think any of this could ever be proved? And what gives Mr. or this Dr. Swami or whatever, where did he get this from? Okay,
look him up. Amit, A-M-I-T, G-O-S-W, W-A-M-I. Amit Goswami.
How is he provided with this information, do you think?
He's a theoretical physicist. He figures it out with math equations.
And let's say I'm a theoretical physicist and I debate or I debunk it. What I'm saying is, do you think that sometimes there is something inherent in human beings that always want us to figure out what happened? That we inadvertently, sometimes by virtue of our own genius and our own creativity, we will create mysteries and mystification of these complex transcendental paths of energies and wormholes and reincarnation and coming back and going forward, that we will just, by virtue of our fecundity, our imagination, we will sit back on some of the most delightful theories that are completely and totally unprovable.
Repeat the question, please.
No, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Now, does this in any way, do any of your friends or any of your, I don't know what your initial birth religion was, whatever that means, but do you have any of your friends who say, she's nuts? She's crazy with this kind of talk.
No, they never say I'm crazy. They say I'm very smart. They never say crazy.
To your face.
Well, I don't care if they think I'm crazy. Who cares?
Oh, I didn't say you did. I didn't say you did. But what I'm saying is, I would think that we need. Well, let me ask you something. Have you ever met somebody who so enjoys these theories and these hypotheses that sometimes they go looking for them as opposed to discovering them? What I'm saying is, I in no way can disprove anything that you're saying. I would love to believe that what you're saying is true. If I could prove it, I want there to believe in a lot of things that people do. And a lot of them, it's like, I'll leave it at that. I can't disprove it. I don't care if Botswami or anybody else for that matter says that. That's his idea. I hope it's true. But do you think there's something in us? You see, a dog will never think about this. We have hyper-intelligence. A shrimp, and nobody will think about this. Because we have, by virtue of our parietal lobe, we want to know, is there anybody else out there? Are we alone? Is there anybody else here?
Because you know how I know you're right? Can you ever, try as hard as you would, could you ever teach a goldfish that 1 + 1 = 2?
No.
No, you could never teach a goldfish that 1 + 1. Can you teach a goldfish to read? No. And basically, I don't think we could really...
But could a goldfish ever teach you? Could a goldfish ever teach you how to breathe underwater? No.
No. But I don't think that we really have the capability to understand what makes the cosmos tick. I really don't.
Right, exactly. I think it's the thing which is the most wonderful thing about being a human, but it will be our downfall because we love so much that which doesn't, which may or may not exist. However, there's something to be said for this. There's a spiritual part in a realm which, if you ignore it, you're missing half the part, half the beauty about being a human. You see, this is what we humans are supposed to be. This is what
Why does the body lose 21 grams at the point of death?
I don't know if that's true.
You don't think that's true? Okay.
Well, listen, I hate to say this. May I be, not to be gross, but the expulsion of gases, a lot of things. I mean, I don't want to say that there's this cosmic fart upon death, but I will tell you there's some wonderful things. Let me give you an example of something. Recently, a friend of the family had a baby, and everybody is just, they're just happy. And I said, do you not understand what's happening here? I said, at death, people always say, where do we go? Where do we go? I said, my question is, where did this thing come from? What was here before this person was born? And they looked at me. They asked Stephen Hawking, what happened before the Big Bang? He said, what's south of the South Pole? I don't know. That the idea of existence, if I take two, two seemingly viscous bodily humors, put them together in the right circumstances, I get a human being. Now, if I don't need any Dr. Swami to tell me that, I can't even get past that. There is this internal mechanism of life that is so mysterious and magical. It blows my mind.
It is.
Listen,
it's a great mystery. It's magical. Oh.
Listen, don't ever change, okay? You don't ever change. I love speaking with you. Please call me again. You hear me? Okay, very good. I like that. Our number is 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Tell me, is there any show, anybody who can go from Henry Clay to Dr. Bajwani? No, I tell you why. Because we're different, because this is another side of midnight.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
No, with you. Our number is 800-848-9222. One of the most fascinating subjects around, and this is why I am probably the worst at it, because of the fact that I never want to be caught flat-footed. I don't want to be caught in the position where I'm led to believe something because it felt good, or because I liked it, or because it's sort of, it was like, oh, that's a nice thought. And just because somebody says something doesn't mean anything to me. Let's go back of the phones. Let's see. Let's go to, let me see this. It's just so interesting. Let's go to Carl in New Jersey. Carl, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Oh, hi, Lionel. I think that consciousness is a kind of inadequate label that we apply to a phenomenon that we really don't understand. And it's hard to sort of label it with something with understanding. That's what the problem is.
Let me ask you this. Really. You don't know you don't understand consciousness?
No, I don't understand consciousness.
Okay.
In terms
Let me ask you this.
Of what it really is. Is it something that can be located directly in our body, like in our microtubules in the cell, as Penrose and Hameroff has said, or is it?
Let me ask you this question.
More,
do you understand what unconscious means? The patient is unconscious. Do you understand what that means?
Unconscious means there's no consciousness, that we don't know anything about.
So therefore, you understand what consciousness means.
No,
you have to understand what consciousness means before you say it's not there.
Okay, there are levels of consciousness, and you can talk about, but the word consciousness is not a very good label that applies to what specifically we're trying to get to. Like, for example, it's got to include awareness. It has to include who we think we are. What about the idea of metacognition, the idea that thinking about our own thoughts? How does that work? sometimes that consciousness is really the universe trying to understand itself. So there's a lot of different ways of approaching it. Look at the information coming from Donald Hoffman talking about the idea that consciousness is a fundamental kind of level of perception. And what about Rupert Sheldrake talking about morphic resonance and getting to Carl Jung and the subconscious, a collective subconsciousness or subconscious.
The collective consciousness, but I also think the problem that we have, in addition to what you mentioned, the aforementioned, is the fact that we're so bad at explaining things. You see, this is another problem, which is even more. I can tell you that I understand things, and I know this sounds extremely syrupy and saccharine and rather anodyne, but I will say it nonetheless. One of the most fascinating things is to explain love, romantic love, not love of country or love of romantic love. Now, this is something that you feel almost palpably, you know it, can't explain it. There's no meter. Everybody recognizes it. When you are sitting there in a hospital room and you see grandma up in tubes, you say she's unconscious. We understand what that means. When consciousness kicks in, it has to be a lot of things. For example, awareness. One of the things which is the most interesting is, if you really want to go into it, look at what people like Piaget and others did in developmental psychology. To understand what we are, watch how a baby develops. And when a baby realizes first, hey, wait a minute, I'm here. This thing, this hand, this thing that keeps flying in front of my face, it's attached to me. And wait a minute, I have to understand what me is. I'm here. I exist. I'm self-aware. And from that is this incredible, and by the way, there's their music. You know what? I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to put you on hold because you're far too literate and such a breath of fresh air. I'm not trying anyway to suggest that some of our callers are not as intellectually adept as you, but I will certainly insinuate it most greatly. You stand by. Our number is 800-848-WABC as we discuss the depths and the intricacies and the beauty and the labyrinthine glory of consciousness and life after death. And I love this stuff. And to think, it's 4:00 in the morning and we're talking about this. Will wonders never cease? Stay tuned with me, Lionel, on Another Side of Midnight.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. And this is Another Side of Midnight. Some of the most fascinating stuff that you can possibly imagine. And that is what we are discussing now. Plain and simple. The ability to think about things at a depth that other animals, as far as we know, cannot even remotely approximate. None. It's fascinating to me. Think about this. We talk about what is consciousness, because we always ask now, what about life after death? Is there consciousness after death? Well, what is consciousness? What is thinking? What happens? And as we were talking with our friend Carl, whom we will go back to, there's this level of, I guess, gradations of thought. Unconsciousness, which some of our callers, I believe, have exhibited in some respects. No awareness of self, no awareness of surroundings, as in maybe deep, anesthesia or a coma. And even with coma, there's some reflexive kind of autonomic. We have some reflexes, maybe. When you lose the gag reflex, and a lot of that's not good. Then there's this notion of subconscious processing. This is information that influences behavior and decisions without entering any kind of conscious awareness. that makes any sense. You're just not sure. It might be Freudian, it might be something, but things that affect your behavior, you don't even know why. Then there's conscious awareness. You're aware of the immediate environment, what's going on, sensations, thought, temperature, light, you know what day it is. Then, here we go. Now we get into this. Think about a baby developing self-awareness, recognition of yourself, of oneself, as a distinct and separate individual capable of reflection, introspection. Humans and maybe some animals exhibit this level. I know I'm here, and I can think about me. It's not just, yes, my hands exist. Then as Carl had mentioned, metacognition, thinking about thinking is almost like an epistemological review, the ability to examine your own beliefs, your biases, your prejudices, your reasoning, how you think. And then ultimately there's the reflective or higher order consciousness. This is the ability and the capacity to contemplate and appreciate abstract concepts, morality, existence, meaning, time, mortality. And there's these other things, the difference between arousal and awareness, and it's fascinating. And what's also important to me is, in order for you to even go beyond anything, even into the spiritual realm, you have to be able to tackle this. Now back to Carl. Carl, I appreciate your expertise. And if we could, I wanted just to make sure that we concluded with this. Do you think we spend enough time even contemplating this at all?
Well, there's many people contemplating it, but the average person doesn't, because it interferes with life, or life gets in the way the other way. So it's a.
Why is that? Do you think? Why is that?
Well, we have other things to do. Like I said, it works the other way too. Life gets in the way, and we don't have time to think about these things necessarily. Since I'm retired and I'm a trillionaire, I'm okay. So I can think about these things and discuss them.
But you thought about them. You thought about them when you were younger. There's no way that a man of your sapience at this point just all of a sudden one day said, "Hey, I'm retired, so I'm going to start thinking about this." I think, to me, and this is interesting. I'd like to ask another level of awareness. This is talk radio audience awareness. One is a person who remembers information to them. Processing is trivia. Trivia in terms of mythology, trivia in terms of collective, behaviors, traditions, mythology. That's kind of what they do. We say, I cannot tell you how when people say Zoran Mamdani is a communist. He's not a communist. Anyway, but it doesn't matter, because saying the right thing, it becomes almost like a shibboleth. It's not thinking. It's how do I say to communicate with members of my tribe. And if I say these things, they will say things back. For example, I know people who are deeply religious, and so help me God. Interesting pun there. But they can't tell you anything that they think independently of what they're told in the Bible. They have no independent thought of anything. And I said, does not God exist in your mind other than what you are told? Would you have come up with God had you not been told? I think we probably would. I think, in fact, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No, yes, well, in terms of consciousness, I suppose people like to think about things and have belief systems that make their life easier and make them use it as a means of reducing stress to a great extent. And
it's called delusion.
If they're not harming anybody else, let them think that way. That's their consciousness.
No, well, of course. But I'm saying, but it's almost like a delusion. There's interesting. When there's intellectualization and there's rationalization, and you rationalize something that you're doing now. Let's say, for example, you go to a bank You go to the ATM, and lo and behold, you end up getting gives you $200 extra, and you say, "Well, I'm going to keep this. Why? Because the bank doesn't need it, and the bank screwed me before, and you know what? It'll teach them a lesson. And who cares? It's not really a person. It's not like it's a cashier. You know what? I'm going to keep it." That's rationalizing. Intellectualizing is even better. You have a girlfriend or somebody you broke up with, and you say, "You know what? Probably better. Look, if she's acting this crazy right now, it would have probably ended up anyway. And you know what? Better off that this happened that way." And we're always creating something to make reality palatable. We add a little spice, a sauce to something. And one of these days, the greatest one ever was religion. It was, now I'm not saying that doesn't mean it's not true. I'm not suggesting that this is all man-made, but if you are saying, "Oh my God, again, these puns, what am I doing?" And I said, "Good news, Carl," or Carl, rather. "Good news. It's called God. Let me explain this to you. Everything has a purpose. You were put on this earth. There's fate. There is really, yes. And even better, when you die, it's not over. You continue. And you go and you meet everybody who predeceased you. Now, do you like that? I love it. Terrific. Welcome aboard." Now, I'm not suggesting that's not true, but if I had to manufacture something that wasn't true, that acted as an emollient, that cushioned the blow of life, I couldn't have come up with anything better than that. It just so happens. Again, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, when you say religion, I think you have to specify what religion that you're talking about, because as you know, there's quite a difference between Buddhism and Catholicism. So what God? There's no God in Buddhism, actually, right? It's the universe.
They're atheists. They're atheists.
Yeah. So, but yet it's called a religion. So when you say religion,
well, let me explain something. Let me explain to you. Irrespective of whether it's a religion, Daniel Dennett, one of the famous atheists, he said he hated the word atheist, and he wanted to come up with a term like the way gays came up with a gay. Homosexual sounded too clinical, so they co-opted the word gay, and he came up with a word. He co-opted this term called bright, and brights were people who did not believe in a supernatural worldview, whatever. And no matter what it is, whether it's Buddhism or even astrology, anything, it's a means by which you're applying a sense of order, something that explains, explicates, that just makes it seem a little bit less random. It just pats you on the back and says, "Don't worry, Carl. We're thinking the same thing," or "There's a reason behind this," or "This is the way it is." It just explains things. It cushions the blow. It's like nature's bubble wrap. It makes it easier. It creates this, again, I'm not saying it's not true, but I don't have any of that. None. Do you know what to me is cushioning? It's reality. And what's even more cushioning is that I fight the tendency to either adopt or to make up abstracts that I really don't inherently believe in, but I think are there almost as a cushion, as something that, you know what I mean, that I have apps. I'm sorry.
But Lionel, just like the word consciousness, which is, to me, an inadequate kind of a label that we have because of our language problem. Then we're getting into linguistics and how that works. But in the meantime, though, just like consciousness, you're talking about the idea of reality. Reality is a word like that, too. That has many layers as well. And we have to define what reality is. And for different people, it has different definitions. So that becomes another phenomenon that we're trying to explain by using a simple label. It has layers like an onion, if you want to use an analogy.
There's another one too. There's another thing too, which is important. There is a political philosophy. Mearsheimer and others come up with this. It's not just his, but you've heard of realpolitik and realism, the political realism. This is a person who says, my analysis has nothing to do with the way it should be, what's moral. It's called reality, in essence. And there's a version of reality, realism, and the like. I kind of like that. And you can take any, but by the way, the thing that we're doing, we can't even take a step forward without defining multi-layered substrata, concatenations of the simplest ideas. Either you're awake or you're not. You're dead or you're not. But we'll say, oh, no. What do you mean? What about near death? What about? There's no finality that you and I could say, guess what? We finally, in science, there's absolute zero, minus 273 Kelvin, it means it is so cold, there is no movement. There's no atomic or molecular movement. So there is nothing that you and I could say, Carl, we finally said it. We have reduced it. It is this. And then you'll say, yes, but what do you call the process of reducing this? So go, oh my God, here we go again. There's no end. And I love that.
Getting into the concept of reductionism, and
yes.
We seem to have that tendency to try to reduce everything in that fashion. If you compare ourselves to the Eastern world, they look at it more holistically. They don't use reductionism too much. So it depends on your thought process within your level of consciousness.
But I'm saying there is a default human mechanism, a penchant, a penchant, a whatever you want to call it, where we just do this. I don't care if you're east, west, or whatever. We will always try to figure some way of looking at something. It's like, Freud says sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Well, sometimes death is just death, and that's it. But we're not satisfied with that, depending upon where we're from. Carl, I must run. It was a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Please call me again. Our number 800-848-9222. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. This is Another Side of Midnight. 800-848-9222. We are absolutely, positively, I think, engaged in some of the most fascinating subjects there are. And that's what makes us great, being human. Charlie in Brooklyn. Charlie, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hello, you're doing a great job, and it's a very important topic. I think many people would like to know, is there a life after death? There's been a lot of really convincing research that there actually is. Now, near-death experiences...
There is what? Excuse me, there is what?
There's research on the reality that there's life after death by the research on near-death experiences.
Well, let me stop you right there. I just mentioned the Neptune study. It doesn't prove there's life after death. It explains perhaps one of the physiological reasons why you perceive certain things upon death. But to prove there's life after death, there's never been any proof of that.
Well, I'm not saying this is actual proof. It's the closest thing that we have to actual proof. The Dr. Raymond Moody, who wrote the book Life, if anyone wants to explore this, the book Life After Life, written by Dr. Raymond Moody, it's not actual proof, but it's the closest thing we have. He interviewed over 100 people that had remarkably similar experiences. These people were very close, not actually close to death, literally for a small interval of time, maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes. Their heart stopped. All their vital signs stopped. And then the nurses and doctors worked very hard to get them back to life. When they did come back and they did, achieve consciousness, they all had remarkably similar experiences.
Now, let me ask you something.
They left their body.
Yes. Did you hear my explanation of this new theory or hypothesis that has been proposed called Neptune, which may explain why all of these people, it's not theoretically proof that there is, as you say, life after death, but it's the proof that we're human, that when the human brain goes through this type of either trauma and a flood of neurotransmitters, carbon dioxide diffusion, whatever, that you get this. What people do is they will look at this and say, aha, because people believe this to be because people see the same thing, they observe the same process, it must be evidence that there's something elsewhere, as opposed to it's evidence that we all have the same brain, and brains do this at or near certain forms of either oxygen deprivation or death or what have you. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that reasoning, but I don't think it's very convincing at all.
Why?
I think anybody that really wants to explore should get this book, Life After Life.
No, wait, stop for a second. Stop.
Raymond
No, forget
Moody.
the book. You're missing the point. No, you don't need the book for this.
No, I understand what you're saying. I
didn't finish my thought. You don't like, be honest with me, my theory, not my theory, but what other people are suggesting that this could be almost like a version of like a patellar reflex. This is what humans do. There's no proof of God or life after death. Who wants that? You want to say that because everybody from all over the world, people from different cultures, people who are atheists, people who don't even speak English, people in villages, and people who they all saw the same thing. There's a commonality of almost like a post-life transition into something that's warm and inviting and soothing and calm. I like that too. Whereas upon somebody else says, nah, that's not what that means. That just means this is what happens when the brain collapses. It always does that. And the very fact, by the way, that you could remember this means you weren't dead. Dead people don't remember. Who wants to think that? I'm not suggesting you're wrong, but there's this natural penchant that we as humans, we always love to read into it. Have you ever looked at your dog and said, oh, look, he's happy? What do you mean he's happy? The dog's happy. He's happy. No, he's not happy. What are you talking about? The thing is, we love to work into it. Sometimes things which make life a little bit easier to take. I'm not saying it's not true. Does that make any sense? Aside from that, do you think there's something absolutely after our death, after we die? Do you really think there's something called heaven?
No, I don't believe in heaven and hell. I'm not a Buddhist and I'm not a Hindu.
What do you think happens?
I was brought up as a Christian. However, I do believe in reincarnation.
Why is that?
In spite of the fact that, reincarnation is like we have many, many different lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Each lifetime is designed to take us to another phase of our spiritual
But why do you believe that?
Development.
That is pure faith. Why do you believe that?
Why do I believe that?
Yeah.
Well, based on many books that I've read, including
forget the books. No, but listen. Stop for a second. Stop for 1 second. I'm not trying to interrupt you. Forget the books.
Okay.
This is a theory. If somebody is saying is, he can't prove it. You have to. If I told you that we turn into pixie dust, you could say, well, that's yeah, but it's in a book. You say, well, I reject that book. There's a certain amount of acceptance of somebody because they cannot put together any kind of proof of what happens afterwards. From Max Planck to the Bible to death, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, why do you think we are in essence recycled? Have you been here before?
Well, I said this is the closest thing. I didn't say it was actual proof. I mean, I can't.
Have you been here before?
I can't tell you. I mean, by the way, you should maybe do a show on hypnotic regression, where people that have been regressed hypnotically will talk about past lives. Now, if you put someone under hypnosis, their unconscious mind is not looking to prove anything to anyone. There's not any kind of vested interest in proving that there's life after death. But you put someone under hypnosis, and they start talking about past lives. And you know what? People that have done this, that have explored people that have been under hypnosis, they've actually gone to locations where people have said, well, I had a past life in India, and this is what it was all about. In the meantime, they never went to India, but there were places in India that were actually mentioned when the person was under hypnosis, and these places actually existed. You know, people with a scientific approach would kind of look very, critically and carefully at their ideas, you know, when they're under hypnosis, and come away with the idea like, God, something is we can't dismiss this. This has got to be.
Well, let me give you an example. Another one too. Hypnosis is a very interesting thing. Have you ever heard of Betty and Barney Hill? This was in the 50s or 60s. Anyway, this interracial couple. They said that they were taken on board a ship, and they were abductees for UFO or whatever it was. Okay.
Right.
People
I remember
like John,
that.
People from like John Mack from Harvard University and others put them under hypnosis, and they described under hypnosis a celestial configuration, stellar configurations that they knew nothing about. They were absolutely correct. Now, when something comes up, I got one more for you. What about during this near death? How about people who at the time they were under had their eyes covered, their ears, they were under? They could describe how many people were in the room. They could describe a particular type of device that was used, things that were said. Somebody who says, "Oh my God, we're losing her." This person is, for all practical purposes, clinically dead, either because of anesthesia, whatever it is. There are things where I don't understand that. Now, here's the thing. The difference between you and me is that you will say, aha, therefore, since somebody recalled this under anesthesia, under hypnosis, pardon me, therefore, there must be something to past lives or whatever because of the detail. What I say is, because of the attention to detail, this is another thing that I really don't understand. That doesn't prove a past life at all. That tells me that this person is recalling something, which is, it might be, I don't know what it is. But for me to exist or to suggest that you, Charlie, that you lived, let's say 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, because you can remember something, I don't know if I would go that far, but it makes me say, you know what? There's something to that, Charlie. And you and I would agree on that. There's something to this. And this is not randomness. This could not have occurred just out of random, just like, gee, of all the things, he remembers exactly how many sides to this obelisk or what have you. So, and the thing about it though is that it's far more fun to think like you do than like I do. It's not fun to think what I think. Because a lot of times my whole life is like, that's interesting. That's it. Because I really believe in very, very few things. And I know that there is a human tendency to always want to add some kind of color, a story, a depth, a meaning It's who we are. We just do this. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just, Now, do you know where you were before? Where you might have been? And what trip is this? Have you been around? How many times around the time portals have you been around? Is this your second time on Earth?
If I had been regressed, I might learn where I have been. I'm not I'm not really sure, but I believe that the people that have done the past life regressions have come around to having a stronger belief.
Oh, absolutely.
There's actually a lot there. They started out with more skepticism than you have, and I believe that they came around to more belief and faith than I have. I mean, because of the experiences of people saying, well, under hypnosis, people don't have any vested interest in impressing anyone or lying or creating a false scenario. Their unconscious mind is just spilling out, ideas and past experiences.
Well, Charlie, I tell you what, you have, I cannot tell you, I must take a few more calls. I thank you, dear friend. Please call me again. You've added tremendously to the level and the depth of this particular discourse. Well, let's go to Tom in New Jersey. Tom, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. Okay, I have two things. You're talking about life, death, and consciousness. All right, it is a fact. Just say hypothetically, if I'm walking across a street and I'm not paying attention and I get run over by a tractor trailer, I'm dead. But you see, the thing is, I might be dead on the street, but my consciousness, my mind knows what's going on for at least 8 hours.
How is that?
Well, I don't know exactly. I read it, an article a long time ago, and Science magazine called Ideas and Discoveries.
So you're
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Entertaining and informative
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My friends, we have minutes to go. Let's see how many great calls we can get. Let's go to Jim on Long Island. You're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Jim,
what do you think about the idea that I started to give you a little background? I worked on mainframe computers from the 70s on, and the human is like a biometric engineered entity. What do you think about that?
Why is that?
You are just a program running. That's all you are. You got it at birth to give you the basic operating system. And if they could figure out the human operating system, would be able to fix a lot of the human defects.
But
is it just a memory? You have a memory, like a computer. You have a memory.
No, I understand that. And we have hardware, which is like neurology, and when hardware goes bad, it's like Parkinson's or what have you. No, wait, you're not listening. Hardware would be like neurology, but software is psychiatry. It's a different story.
That sounds good.
We basically have brains that works. Like if you look at somebody who's got a stroke, you say, okay, his hardware is a problem. But if somebody's schizophrenic, that's operating system. Why are our operating systems all different? There's not one. The brain's pretty much the same.
Because when the human is created, each birth, there's a different DNA setup for what the instructions are to build the biometric.
What effects does life and experience have? This is like the epigenetic part of it. They say that genetics pulls the cocks the gun, but epigenetic pulls the trigger. What about experiences? For example, somebody who goes to war and suffers from PTSD, he wasn't born with that. how is our operating system affected by life and experience?
It's just like any other computer system. It's the main job is to move data, and so all it's going to do is move.
So what you're doing is you're basically deconstructing this. Is there anything that is mystical beyond this analog of computer? Is there anything?
No, because you have like an operating system that controls.
I understand
you're
repeating yourself. Listen, thank you for your call. I appreciate that. Let's see if I can let's go to Robert in Riverhead. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, I'm amazed at the scope and depth of detail and information recall you have. You know, if I was to envision a bunch of philosophers and you being the lead orator on Mars Hill in Athens, this is it.
I appreciate. Thank you for that. Thank you. It's a fascinating subject. I love the subject.
Yeah. Now, you know, I can only tell you that if I were to try to conjure this, I would suggest that our consciousness is energy, and if that is a corollary, and I say years ago, tried astral projection, it was horrible. I was out of body for 2 weeks. It was horrible. But, you know...
Why was it horrible?
Well, it took me a lot of effort to get back into my body. I actually felt...
So wait a minute. How did you leave your body?
Through meditation.
Isn't that good? Isn't that introspection? Isn't that...
During the transcendental meditation era.
But isn't that good? Isn't that something that we should aspire to?
Horrible. I felt like
Why?
I was different people. I was existing in the physical world, and I was existing outside my body as when we call it well, I'll just say as a spirit, but you know, it's an energy field.
Well, you know, you have the perfect job as a radio program director. You'll fit in just fine. I kid, of course, because it's true. Well, how did you get back from that netherworld?
Very hard, intensive meditation to try to get back and
to bring you back. Meditation took you out. Meditation brought you back.
Correct. And I'd never play with it again. It's dangerous, extremely dangerous. Well, I've been involved in martial arts then, and then, you know, like the Hindu, so okay, but that's a whole different story.
Robert, unfortunately, my friend, the clock is my enemy. Please call me next week. I appreciate that. I want to hear more about this. I've never heard this. Let me thank our good friends, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Billy, stewarding the helm, who make all of this possible. Thank you, gentlemen, for the great work that you do. And thank you so much. Let me remind you, follow me on YouTube at Lionel Nation and on X, used to be called Twitter, at Lionel Media. You will not believe the stuff you see. Thank you so very much for your thoughts, your kindness, your greatness. Let me say this one more time. God bless America. This is the only country I know, and I ain't going nowhere. Lionel with you, reminding you the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Da-da.